and welcome to Ivy English. I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today is the 18th of July. Happy July. Happy middle of July. We've passed the solstice and now we have just 10 more years of hot weather until it gets to fall again. Yay.
所以这个夏天现在夏天正热的时候所以这个 Angela 老师说还要再等10年天气才会凉下来。
Anyways, today we're not talking about heat. We're talking about the rise of subscription services. Yay!
那我们的中文标题是你订阅了吗？那这个英文标题里面的 subscription 就是订阅的意思，所以 services 是服务，所以订阅服务的兴起，这是英文标题的意思。
Okay, so this whole article is about subscription services, which is a business model that that article claims it's been around for a long time, and it has in a certain sense, but suddenly subscription services are how everyone does business now, which is why we're introducing this term here at Ivy English so that you guys can understand how to talk about this stuff in English, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So let's read it. The subscription business model has been around for a long time. Back in the 19th century, many households started using this type of service to access news and magazine publications. They would mail payments to publishing companies, which would then mail their daily newspaper and monthly magazines back to them. However, despite the long history of the subscription business model, there seems to have been an explosion of new companies trying it out in recent years. The concept of subscription models is simple. Customers pay fees, whether they be weekly, monthly, or yearly, to receive either a product or service in return. News publications are a classic example of this. Rather than going to the local store to pick up the daily newspaper, many people opt for subscriptions instead. They just pay the newspaper company a fee to get newspapers delivered to their door every morning. Other typical subscription services include video and music streaming sites like Netflix or Spotify, grocery delivery companies, and even some software products. There are many benefits for companies that adopt subscription business models. First, they provide a seamless and convenient experience for people. Customers don't have to worry about running to a store to pick up a product if they know it will be delivered next week. Second, subscriptions help to build customer loyalty. If a person has subscribed to a service for a long time, they are less likely to switch to another company. Finally, subscription models make it easy for companies to predict how many products to produce and how much revenue they will receive. All the company needs to do is check its subscription list to figure this out, making it an efficient and a cost-effective way of doing business. Okay, so here's the thing. When you're running a business, the thing you want most is predictability.
也就是可预测性。
Because when you're running a business, you need to know you've got workers to pay, you've got suppliers to pay, you've got profits to make. You need to know how the numbers are going to add up, and you would like for things to be stable so that you can know how much product to buy, how many workers to employ, all of these things. And so the main benefit to business of subscription services is that it creates a very predictable customer base. If you're a newspaper and you have, say 10,000 subscribers, then you know that you're going to sell 10,000 newspapers. And you can also be like, deliver them to stores, but the stores you have a deal with that they only have to give you the money for the papers they sold and the rest is just garbage. And so they might sell anywhere between 5 and 10 newspapers a day per store, but it's not guaranteed 10 newspapers the way that guaranteed 10 subscribers is. So it takes the uncertainty out of doing business. So you can see from a business perspective why subscription services sound like such a good idea.
好，那这个订阅制呢，主要其实是对于这个商业，对商家比较有利，因为它可以有了订阅之后，他就可以预测他需要准备多少的产品。那例如说报纸的话，如果他已经知道他的订报的人数，他就知道说他至少要印这些报纸，那也许可以多印一些，可以去卖怎么样。但如果大家都不是用订的，而是去超商里面买的话，那他可能很难预测今天这个超商会卖几份报纸，因为有的人可能有的时候买，有的时候不买，所以他就有过多的不可预测的因素。那这个对于任何的商业模式来讲都是不喜欢的，他们喜欢比较可以预测的，知道有多少人会买，让他知道准备多少产品。
So this kind of subscription service is fairly neutral. There's a problem with an innovation that we have been playing around with as businesses, which is before, when I subscribed to the newspapers that arrived to my house were mine. I owned them for the rest of my life. I could do whatever I wanted with them. I could throw them out. I could keep them. I could put them in a library. I could sell them. Now, subscription models, when it's something to do with, say, media or software, for instance, if I buy a software program from a software company, then they say, you have a subscription model. So you have to pay us every month to use this software, which you have downloaded and put in your computer. And when you stop paying it, boom, the software disappears and you are unable to access any of the files you made with our software. So it's a little more complicated than I'm going to just sell you a newspaper every month. It's more like I'm going to hold your information hostage in your computer unless you pay me every month. So it's less of a subscription service and more of a mafia-style protection service.
但是现在的订阅制有的时候呢，好像有点变调的感觉。因为以前你如果订阅的话，像报纸，你订报纸，报纸到了你家，报纸就是你的了。但是现在呢，包括一些软体服务或者甚至一些媒体的服务呢，你订阅的时候你有 access， 你可以看。但是如果说你没有订的时候，好，那它可能你之前的这个东西，它可能都你没有办法留下来，好，而且就像我有订阅一个线上的字典，好，那个字典就是你订的时候你可以用。但是你如果不付订费，你就不能用了。那这跟买字典是不一样，你字典买回家的话，你什么时候要查都是你的。
And if I've used that subscription service to build something like a product or a piece of art or information, and then because I'm no longer paying for the service, I cannot access the information I created, there's a conflict of interest, and that's a giant conflict of interest that is becoming more and more giant as this new kind of subscription service is happening.
好，那另外一个问题就是，你如果用他们的，例如说软体，你订阅他们的软体，你用这个软体做了一些东西，可是你不再订的时候，你可能你之前做的东西你也没有办法取得了。好，那这个时候就会产生一些问题，就是那东西是我做的，但是现在软体公司拥有那个东西了。其实不只是这样，就包括这个不同的Word processing 的那个版本也是一样。好，我之前的版本，我用之前版本写出来的东西，你现在 upgrade 之后，或者我不订你这个软体了，我之前写的东西通通抓不到，通通看不到了，那这非常讨厌。
It's not only 讨厌, it cuts you off from your own creative work.
Yeah, 而且不只是讨厌，它其实就是断绝了你跟你自己的作品之间的这种关系，那东西通通变成他的了。
So subscription services, there's neutral kinds and there's dangerous kinds, and I want you guys to know the difference. So let's go back to the article. The subscription business model has been around for a long time. I mean, if you consider 100 years a long time, sure.
Yeah, 所以这个订阅制的商业模式business model 就是一个商业的模式 has been around 就是存在的意思所以它已经存在相当久的时间了 for a long time.
Now, back in the 19th century, many households, a household is an economic unit centered around living. Let's just say that. So a household could be people who are related to each other plus all their servants and other things.
好，所以这 household 通常我们中文翻成家庭了，但其实 household 在英文里面意思就是住在一起的一些人，那他们通常多半是家人，但是也包含了他仆人等等的。
But it's technically an economic unit, really.
Yeah, 所以基本上它是一个经济体 household 是一个经济体。
Okay, so households started using this type of service to access news and magazine publications. Because newspapers and magazines were the thing at the time to get your information. That was your internet.
所以呢，在19世纪的时候，很多家庭他们已经开始用这种 this type of service 来怎么样来 access 就取得 news and magazine publications 取得这个新闻的出版物或者是杂志的出版物。
And so people would mail payments to publishing companies, and then they would in turn mail their daily newspaper and monthly magazines back to the people. Great.
Yeah, 那他们会 mail 就是邮寄payments 就是支付的费用，他们把这个邮寄支付的费用寄给这个出版公司或者是报社 publishing companies， 那 which 就是指这些 publishing companies 会这个接下来就会 mail their 会把他们就是订阅者的 daily newspaper 就是每天的报纸，还有 monthly magazines 还有月刊或者是每个月的杂志就寄回去给他们。
However, despite the long history of the subscription business model, there seems to have been an explosion of new companies trying it out in recent years. There really are a lot of new companies trying to do subscription services for everything. And the pandemic sort of accelerated that because people were stuck in their houses and still needed services. So a bunch of people were like, ooh, what if we mailed such and such to people's houses? And because internet payments are easier now.
Yeah, 但是呢，尽管 despite 后面接名词，尽管有一个很长的历史，就是这个订阅制的商业模式，尽管它也有很长的历史了，但是呢，似乎现在有一个 explosion of 这 explosion 就是暴增激增 new companies 一些突然暴增，有很多新的公司要 trying it out 就是试用订阅制 in recent years 近几年来有很多的公司就暴增，想要尝试一下试用一下这种订阅制的服务。
So the concept of subscription models is simple. It's called a model because it's like a concept of how to do business. It's a model. So customers pay fees and payments, whether they be weekly, monthly, or yearly, and they do this to receive either a product or a service in return. If something is given in return, it is to pay back or to give back equal value.
好，所以 in return 就是作为回报，或者是这个你付钱给我，我回给你这个东西，那个叫做 in return. 所以 the concept of 就这个订阅制模式的这个概念 concept is simple 很简单，简单的说就是这个消费者 customers 顾客 pay 支付 fees 就是费用 fee 这个字通常是指服务性的费用，包括给付给专业人员办事或者是提供建议的手续费等等这一类的酬劳都是 fees 所以这个消费者的顾客呢，他们支付费用，然后中间一个插入语 whether they be weekly, monthly or yearly 就是无论这个费用是每个月的每周付还是每个月付还是每年付Pay fees 干嘛呢 ？To receive 付这个费用才能，目的是要接收或者得到 either a product 你可能会得到是一个产品 or service 或者是一个服务 in return。所以换句话说，你付钱，然后呢，你就可以使用一个产品或得到一个产品，或者使用一个服务。
News publications are a classic example of this. So this is one of the first subscription services, and so that's the classic example.
好，所以 a classic example of something 就某个东西的一个经典的例子，所以 news publications 就是新闻出版，那就是一个经典的例子 of this 就是所谓的订阅制模式。
Rather than going to the local store to pick up the daily newspaper, if you pick something up, it means you buy it, but it's like a casual kind of buy. Like, let's go pick up some milk, something you need.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Rather than going to the local store to pick up the daily newspaper, many people opt for subscriptions instead. They choose subscriptions instead because it's convenient. It comes to your door.
好 opt for 就是选择某个东西 instead 就是不用刚刚提的而用什么，所以各位可以把这个句子的这个骨干结构把它学起来，就是 rather than doing something many people opt for 另外一个事情 instead。 好，所以呢这个 rather than 他们不做这件事情，他不做什么事呢？不做 going to the local store 到这个当地的商店 to pick up 就是去买 the daily newspaper 去买这个每天的报纸，不做这件事情，而是怎样呢？ Many people opt for 很多人选择 subscriptions 选择订阅 instead of going to the local store。 所以这个各位把这个句子可以把它背起来。好 rather than doing something many people opt for another thing instead。So
they just pay the newspaper company a fee to get newspapers delivered to their door every morning. How nice.
Yeah, 那他们就是 pay 支付给这个 newspaper company 这个报社 a fee 一个费用，这样子目的就可以 to get newspapers 可以让报纸 delivered get something 加个 VED 好，就是让这个事情被怎么样，所以这里 get newspapers delivered to their door 就是让报纸被送到他们的这个家门口，所以报纸不是自己来，它是被送的，所以是被动，所以是 delivered get newspapers delivered to their door now every morning 每天早上。
Now, more recent typical subscription services include video and music streaming sites like Netflix or Spotify. What is a streaming site? A streaming site is a site that allows you to watch a movie or listen to a piece of music without actually downloading it to your computer. You can just listen to it on the site. So it's called streaming because the idea is that it streams over the internet continuously to you. And this solves some copyright problems because it's like you're borrowing the book or you're borrowing the movie, but you're not actually downloading it to your computer. You're not actually owning it. So from the company's point of view, they're not worrying about whether or not they're selling you these things. They're selling you access to these things. But from the customer's point of view, it means that when you watch a movie and you love it, you can't keep it. And the instant you stop buying that service, you can never watch that movie again. Anyways, so there's sites like Netflix or Spotify who do these things. And my problem with Netflix, I used to be really happy about it, but then I realized Netflix has all of the movies in its like library, but like month to month, I'm not allowed access to them. I'm paying them money every month to access movies that I can't actually access. They're like, oh, you want XYZ? Well, we've got A, B, C, D, E, F. Why don't you watch these instead? And they're just like garbage shows. I don't want to spend my time on garbage shows. I went to Netflix to watch the movies I want to see that I know are in their library. So I was like, you know what? No. So I canceled my subscription. And then there's Spotify. There's a guy who's like, I've been paying Spotify for 10 years. And I realized that in these 10 years, I could have actually bought this music and owned it 3 times over.
Yeah.
He's like, it's cheaper to just buy and own music than to stream it in the long term. But in the short term, sure, it's nice. You can find some new music and stuff. But really, in the long term, subscription services benefit. The modern kind of subscription services benefit the company, but don't really benefit the customer. Anyway, so we've got grocery delivery services. Now, what my critique just now was for media companies. Things like grocery delivery companies, these guys are providing an actual physical service of things that you keep and use. That's solid. That's just like the old school newspaper delivery service. And then there's some software products, and that's when I start talking about mafia protection rackets, because software products, you're using their product to create a thing, and then you can't access it because you can't access the software anymore. That is sketch.
好，所以呢，这个其实像 Netflix 跟 Spotify 哈，他们都有一些这个可能会让人不满意的地方哈。那我也是觉得，基本上这种东西只是让这个老板更有钱而已哈，让这背后的老板更有钱而已哈。那我们来看看这句，他说其他的一些 typical 典型的订阅制的服务呢，包括什么？包括 video 就是影片，还有 music 音乐的 streaming 就串流哈，串流就是你没有把它 download， 你没有把它下载下来啊，但是你可以在线上听，可以在线上看。那这个 music streaming sites 或者 video streaming sites， 例如说 Netflix 或者 Spotify。那另外还包括什么呢？ Grocery delivery companies， grocery 就是这个食品杂货，那它的外送的 delivery 就运送外送的公司，那这也是用订阅制的。还有甚至于呢，有一些这个软体的产品也是用订阅制的。
So there are many benefits for companies that adopt subscription business models.
好，所以呢，对于这个采用 adopt 就采用订阅制模式的这个公司呢， there are many benefits for them 对他们来讲有很多的好处。那刚刚这 Angela 老师也提过，那我也觉得这个基本上就是一种赚钱的方式他们赚钱的方式 yeah.
So this sentence mentions that there's benefits for companies. And then the rest of the paragraph talks about the kinds of benefits for customers. And so it's interesting because it's basically saying that the benefits for companies comes through the benefits they offer to customers. And there's kind of a wiggle room here, because benefits for companies is basically how well do they make money. But if they keep their customers happy, then they will make money better. So benefits for companies are also benefits for their customers. I don't know. It's a little bit, this kind of language is used a lot. And I'm pointing it out because I thought this paragraph was going to be, this is why businesses can make money with this model. But it's actually talking about, this is why it's good for customers, which is much more of a sort of sales approach. Like, the benefits for us are the benefits for you. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Yeah, 这个地方的这个作者的 strategy 蛮有趣的哈，就他开头第一句话告诉你说这个对于公司来讲，这个订阅制服务是有很多的好处，但他接下来谈的是对于顾客来讲有什么好处，所以他感觉起来背后他是很像一种行销模式，就是顾客的好处就是公司的好处就顾客高兴我们就高兴，但其实大部分的现代商业不是这样运作的。Yeah.
They say that we're happy for you. We want you to be happy, but they're actually taking the majority of the benefit. We're happier than you are. Yeah. It's an unequal exchange.
Yeah， 好，所以这个其实大家可以去思考一下，就是现在商业模式 is everywhere 哈，有的时候我们已经习惯了这些公司他们商业的模式哈，但是其实你要知道，就这些公司他们背后其实都是赚大钱，而且是大大的钱。
Yeah. And so the following is a list of why companies feel subscription services should make customers happy. So first, these subscription services provide a seamless and convenient experience for people. If something is seamless, it means that it's not broken or interrupted.
Yeah, 很流畅的意思，中间没有缝，就 seamless。所以首先呢，这个公司他们提供了一个很流畅的而且很方便的 experience 体验 for people， 他们提供给顾客流畅而且很方便的体验。
Customers don't have to worry about running to a store to pick up a product if they know it will be delivered next week.
Yeah, 所以顾客呢不需要担心 don't have to worry about 跑到一个店里面去 running to a store， 目的是要 to pick up a product 去这个拿一个产品啊。如果说他们知道 it will be delivered next week， 他们知道下个礼拜东西就会送来了啊，他们就不用急着跑去了。我觉得这个 next week 蛮有意思的哈。其实有些东西我可能 I want it now， 但是
Well, that's what Amazon Prime was about, but actually to do that is incredibly vicious to everybody concerned. It's actually not a great model.
Yeah, so anyway, 好，这蛮有趣的哈。所以不过这里重点就是你知道它会送来，那你就不用跑到店里面去买啦。
Now, second, subscriptions help to build customer loyalty. Customer loyalty is a buzzword, which means that they are locked into our services, and it's harder for them to leave than to stay.
Yeah.
But it sounds nice to call it loyalty.
Yeah, 这 customer loyalty 就是这个顾客的忠诚度啊，这也是一个很棒的东西啊。但是现代的商业模式有的时候会让你觉得你其实不是对他们忠诚，而是被他们绑住了哈。所以呢
It's more about sunk cost than it is about loyalty.Sunk cost is when you've already spent $500 on a thing. You're not going to switch to something that also costs $500 because you've just spent your $500. You want to get your money's worth.
Yeah, sunk 就是已经沉下去的哈，就是你花下去的钱已经沉下去。有的时候你就觉得，哎呀，我都已经花这么多钱在这里了。你如果换一个的话，你会觉得可能要花更多的钱，或者觉得以前花的钱都浪费掉或怎么样。
Yeah.
所以在这种情况之下是产生的所谓的 customer loyalty 哈。不过anyway， 这个顾客的忠诚度有的时候其实是因为他们不想要太多的麻烦。
Now, if a person has subscribed to a service for a long time, they're less likely to switch to another company. It's not just that. It's that if your files are, if your files only work with one software, are you going to switch to another software? No.
所以他如果有一个人他订阅了一个服务，而且已经订阅了很久，他们就比较不可能 they are less likely to do something， 他们比较不可能 switch to another company， 比较不会换到另外一个公司。那当然这是一个原因，但另外一个原因可能是换到另外一个公司可能很多东西就不相通，或者是你之前建立的东西可能拿不回来或怎么样的，所以这个实际上情况可能比这个稍微复杂一点。
So the first point, the seamless experience, that's really what's something for customers. The second point, building customer loyalty, this is much more about guaranteeing income for the actual company. And this final point is about predictability. So finally, subscription models make it easy for companies to predict how many products to produce and how much revenue they will receive. And this is truly about the benefit for companies. This is not about benefit to customers at all.
对，好，所以我们刚刚看到这个第一点比较跟顾客有关系，好，那第二点这个顾客的忠诚度，这跟公司是比较有关系的。那第三点呢，跟公司也很有关系，是说什么呢？他说这个订阅制的模式呢 ，make it easy for companies to do something， make it easy for somebody to do something， 就让这个人他做这件事情比较容易。所以这种订阅制的模式，让公司做什么事情比较容易呢？让公司比较容易的可以 predict 预测 how many products to produce， 他要生产多少的产品，这我们刚刚一直在谈的订阅制的好处。还有他们也可以预测 how much revenue， 就是收入或者收益 they will receive， 他们可以得到多少收入，所以 receive revenue 是一个 collocation。And
all the company needs to do is check its subscription list to figure this out. So you can just say, oh, we've got 10,000 subscribers. Fantastic. We have enough money to do what we want in this, we have enough money to do these things, which makes it efficient for the company. They're not wasting money doing the wrong thing because they know what they're supposed to do. And it's cost effective. And that's the same thing here as efficient. Like they're not wasting money doing things that they don't need to do. They know what the customers want, what they've subscribed for, and so they can provide that service without wasting money on other things. So that's cost effective. And it's a cost effective way of doing business.
好，所以呢 all the company needs to do 这个公司它要做的只是 is。 那像这种结构前面的主词有一个 do， 那在后面动词是 is 的时候呢，这 is 后面那个动词通常是不用加 to 的，所以 all the company needs to do is check， 所以他要做的只是要 check 查一下他的 subscription list， 就是他的订阅名单，就可以 figure this out， 就可以 figure this 就是他前面讲的要做多少产品，有多少收入，他就可以算出来了。然后呢 making it 让这件事情，这个 it 就指这种做法，让这种做法呢怎么样， making it 这个 it 是受词，那后面都是受词补语，让这种做法怎么样呢，这个怎么样呢就是那个补语，所以让这种做法是一个怎么样非常 efficient 很有效率，而且是 cost effective 就是符合成本效益的一种 way of doing business， 做生意的一种很有效率而且符合成本效益的一种方式。那是 efficient 跟 cost effective 在这里意思其实很接近。
But efficient doesn't always mean cost effective. It's just in this sentence.
Yeah, 就在这个句子里面这两个字意思很相近。
Okay, so that's all we have for today, but we're going to continue this article tomorrow, so join us again then. Until then, bye-bye.